Wisdom When the Waves Toss and Turn by Nadia Arensdorf. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given to him. James chapter 1, verse 5. When I was in grad school, my bedtime was at 2 a.m. I was consumed with writing an academic thesis that took immense amounts of research. I loved the work, but it took its toll. At times I yearned to quit, but deadlines loomed and I kept going. On those days when my mind was saturated, I often ran out of things to say. What else could I say about the 19th century British soldier who was traveling to war in Crimea? As I struggled, often in the early morning hours, I would finally remember to ask God, Lord, can you enlighten my way? And He answered. Every time I asked God for help, He responded. Almost immediately after my prayer left my lips, my mind would be flooded with a thought that propelled me out of my investigation limbo. I learned that I could trust that inner voice in any situation I encountered, not just grad school pressures. I prayed, He answered, and I began to confidently rely on God, who once again came through for me with wisdom to handle life. James chapter 1 verse 5 tells us clearly that if we need wisdom from God, we should ask and He will give it to us, generously, without reproach. That means without placing shame on us for asking Him for help. In fact, just in that one verse, James tells us 3 times that God will give us wisdom. Why is it so hard for us to believe this? I found it hard too, until my tough grad school journey taught me that God was there, ever present, even in the middle of the night, even when I had nothing left to give. Most importantly, I began to pray before I began to work, asking God to guide me with His wisdom. He always showed me what to do. Broken relationships, job loss, college decisions, aging parents, critically ill children, all these situations demand important decision making. God knows this. He is there for us. He knows what to do. And in the verses following James chapter 1 verse 5, James explains more fully that we must ask God for wisdom and faith, never doubting, to understand how to tackle life's problems. If we doubt, James tells us, this uncertainty will throw us into a tailspin. We'll feel like we're being tossed in an angry sea, driven by gusty waves. This is not what God wants for His children. By having the firm faith in God that James talks about, we begin to cement in our hearts and minds the truth that God will help us in any time of need. Trusting God to answer becomes a healthy habit. Knowing He will give us wisdom generously in all scenarios gives us hope that we can handle anything life throws at us. Ask in faith and trust God to answer. Questions for reflection. What is the most challenging situation you find yourself in right now? Tell God about it. He already knows, but it strengthens our faith-building muscles to tell Him ourselves. Then ask God for wisdom to know the next steps to do something about it. Whatever God tells you, confidently move forward in obedience, knowing God will give you that wisdom, as James reminds us. Read the whole passage on wisdom in James chapter 1, verses 5 through 8. What is your favorite portion of it? What phrases grab you? Memorize those phrases and refer to them when you feel tempted to despair because you struggle to know what to do in a difficult situation. Reflect on the times when God has given you wisdom. What did that look like? How did you handle it? What can you repeat that would ensure you are trusting that He will give you wisdom from above, as James chapter 3 verse 17 calls it?